Chip and I are here at this water-efficient XERISCAPE garden, which we installed, finishing it about 1.5 years ago. The owner had a big hand in the design of it, and it's an interesting yard. We're gonna look at the progress, look at the things that are working, and the things that need some help, and we're gonna start right here at the entrance. We used a series of poured-in-place big concrete stepping stones, and to break up that arid bunch of concrete, we planted Kurapia in the middle, which has done very well. Tough, easy to grow, and they trim it every now and then, and so it stays just a little higher than the level of the concrete. And then the whole theme of this is to have these olives kind of like an overhead, and these are fruitless olives, and they've put on a lot of growth since we planted them. I had thinned them when we first planted them. If you're interested, tune in to another video. I'm going to show how to properly prune these so that we can create kind of a canopy that you walk under, and also make it so that you can see through these. I think that'd be a lot more effective at the entrance. Rather than having a big blob of green, we'll make it so you can see the structure of the fruitless olive. If you'd like to see the first video that right after we installed it, click in the upper right hand corner and you can watch that. Chip is armed tonight with his GoPro camera, so he'll be doing some of the photography to help Brendan out. Together they're a tremendous team. You'll see some of the best photography in the industry if you watch this video. I'm John Valentino, president of John and Bob's Corporation, and also president of Truxell and Valentino Landscape Development, Inc. I've had a contractor's license since 1976, so I'm getting close to 50 years of building gardens and building commercial landscapes. A lot of the things along the entrance, this is not a great time of the year for them. All of this salvia is just kind of hanging in there when we had cold weather. It'll start blooming in another month or so. This sedum, I can see, just died back basically, and you can see it's just starting to come up. That basically dies, even in Fresno, dies back to almost nothing in the winter. You might remember from the first video, we planted a Japanese grass in the hopes that we could get it enough shade to do well, and our hopes were dashed. We were not able to get it enough shade to do well, so we replaced it with this Dianella. The Dianella is doing very well. It'll take a lot of sun, and it'll take quite a bit of shade, and it gets a little bit of shade here. And then we've got some different kinds of Nandina. Everything's doing well in this cobble. This Kurapia was all a Bermuda lawn, and so we had the challenge of making sure all the Bermuda was gone. And this has done very well. I kept inspecting it for invasion of Bermuda, and we haven't had any. The other thing that's really impressed me about this stand of Kurapia is in Fresno it tends to sometimes get a little more off color than this in the winter. It stays green, but sometimes not this green. Since we've installed it, I have been looking at it once a month or once every other month, and it's really impressed me, the color and the beauty of it. As soon as we get a little warmer weather, it'll green up. The other interesting thing that I give the owner a lot of credit for is her idea to do these bands of rock around the Kurapia on both sides. And her idea was to try to create movement or motion. I was a little unsure it would be successful, but it really is successful. Just 2 or 3 inches of compacted California gold. I think we used decomposed granite first, and then we compacted California gold into it so it's firm. On the edging, since we had a lot of curves, we used a product called Permalock. Very nice edging and good for homeowners to install. And a lot of edging that you can find at places like Home Depot and stuff isn't good when you have freezing and hot weather. You'll see it heave and move, and this edging stays put. As you can see, it's stayed, it's right in the same grade as when we installed it. You can see we've got it on both sides. So on the Kurapia side, you can edge it like with a string trimmer or something. And then on this side, it just makes a nice separation. Then on the other side of this edging, we use little ollie. I had in mind them being maintained a little taller. Little ollie, which is a dwarf olive with no olives, will get 4, 5, 6 feet tall. And I was envisioning it being allowed to grow 4 feet or so that it would screen the vegetable garden. They can be maintained at a higher height and also allowed to spread more, and they would touch each other. And I think that would be a nice way to handle the screening of the vegetable garden. Everything's really doing well. You can see the Raphiolepis up against the house. Dianella hiding the valves, and then those citrus back there have probably tripled in size in just a year and a half. So they're doing very well. Rucelia St. Elmo's Fire is doing very well. They look a little half dormant now because they do get half dormant when you have cold weather. The owner was saying the yard is a lot more lush and attractive in about April. Right now we're at the very beginning of March, but we can still see a lot of growth here and progress, and we can compare it to that original, and then maybe we'll show it to you again a little later on when I prune these olives. When it's first planted, even a xeriscape or water efficient garden, they have to branch out into the soil, the roots do, so it's difficult to go immediately into water conserving mode. You do much more frequent waterings, although it doesn't have to be real deep watering, to just make sure everything survives, takes off, and begins to root down. Now we're into the second year, and we can start watering less frequently and more deeply to try to encourage deep rooting, which would allow us to not have to water as much. If our soil has all kinds of microbiology in it, that's a part of being able to water less. And so what we do is when we plant, we use a lot of our blend, which is optimized, maximized, nourished biosol. And we use a lot of our Penetrate Liquid Biotiller, which is a spray-on product. The combination starts microbiological growth, which is important for the general health of plants, also important for gardens that you want to be able to use water as efficiently as possible. So I like to do ongoing applications of our products to continue to build life in the soil. I might do a couple applications of Penetrate Liquid Biotiller through the year, especially, well, like in the vegetable garden, I would definitely do blend and Penetrate Liquid Biotiller. We've got potting soil there that can get depleted, but not if you use blend and Penetrate Liquid Biotiller. So that's kind of a little trick to not have to change potting soil. So these trees have interesting staking. This is a Keith Davy pistache. It's developing tensile strength because you can tell how it's wider at the bottom than as it goes up. We had to use quite a few stakes because they tend to be gangly and spindly when they're out of the container. And if you don't stake them like this, they'll start to get crooked. And so we used the double stake, and then we used this support stake. Right about now, this support stake can come out because we want to encourage as much movement as we can get. That's what allows trees to develop strength in the trunk and make it so you can take off all the stakes probably within a couple of years of planting. So if you take this support stake off now and then retie these, you'll get a little more movement when the wind blows, especially once we have leaves on this. And then the next year you can take these stakes off and you've got these nice, straight, strong trees. The southern live oak, it may have had such a strong trunk that we didn't need to stake it, and it's better if you don't need to stake the tree. It's much healthier for the tree, and so this is really looking good. It's very wide at the bottom. A multi like these fruitless olives, obviously you don't need staking. Multis don't usually need staking. The crepe myrtle multis, you don't need staking because they don't have a tall, thin trunk with a bunch of weight on top that makes it, hard to stabilize. So in the courtyard, we have red Japanese maple in the corner, an interesting smoke tree. My smoke tree at home is a little farther along, I think just because of the exposure here. Maybe we can look on the video to see what kind. I remember this is some unusual kind of red bud, but I can't remember which one. And you can see the Kurapia really looks great in here. You could put a nice table out here. We have a lot of concrete, but it doesn't look arid. We just have a little drip line, with the emitters built into the drip line, watering the Kurapia. Some beautiful Nandina blush pink, variegated liriope. So you can call it status, or you can call it sea lavender or limonium. And you can see there's quite a bit here, and it's blooming now. It's looking great right now. Cost-saving measure is to plumb for a fountain and then put the fountain in later. The owners put their own fountain in after the garden was complete. So as you can see, a xeriscape garden doesn't have to look dry or arid. We tried to create something that's even a little bit lush, attractive, and very low water using. If you like this type of video where we go and look back at gardens that we showed you the original installations. Let us know. We'll start doing more of those, and let us know how Chip's photography was. Look, he's pacing around right now, getting every little nook and cranny of this water efficient garden. If you find this useful, please like and subscribe. We'd like to build up our viewership and our subscribers. Headed for 50,000. Help us get there.